Mega store in Funkole where there's lots of parking. On Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. JP Mega, the best family shopping experience. Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lando with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Christian. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
Good morning to you. It is Wednesday, April 5. That is the 5th of April, 2023. We're so happy that you've joined us for yet another episode of Health Vibes, brought to you by the brand you trust the most, Jolly's Pharmacy. I'm your host, Carlton Lando, and I'm joined with my co-host, Trudy Christian, and Jacinta Fagan Defo this morning won't be with us today. It is a National Day of Mourning here in Dominica as we celebrate the life of Dr. Alwyn Bully, a stalwart in culture, a giant in nation building, and someone who will forever be remembered by all of us Dominicans because he designed our national flag. Today, he's been laid to rest as the funeral is live on most medium here in Dominica. We, as well, at Jolly's Pharmacy, would certainly like to extend our sincerest condolences to his wife, Mrs. Anita Bully, the children, many family members, colleagues, and friends of Dr. Alwyn Bully. From my interaction with Dr. Bully, when I got back to Dominica and worked at Jolly's, I must say that he was one of the most respectful, humble giants, if you were to use such a word, in the trueness of his stature here in Dominica that I had met. Very, very humble man. Not someone who liked to be loud. When I say loud, his presence, he never liked his presence to be loud. He got into a room and he felt that he wanted to be treated like everybody else. He never looked like you had to scramble to give him a first place position because maybe he was sixth place in the line. He would stand in that line and wait for his turn. And that is exactly how I remembered him, both he and his wife, tremendous people. And he was truly one of our most committed customers at Jolly's, even to his death. His wife would buy all of his medicines at Jolly's Pharmacy. And we really do feel that void today, knowing that he is now going to be in a better place, but his earthly body will not be with us anymore. Trudy, I know you would have also known of Mr. Bully well.
Yes, of course. Known him as a cultural icon, which he was, and of course, one of those representations that we have of a true patriot. Somebody who lived his life really in dedication to Dominica and the preservation of its cultural identity. So much of what we know, what we recognize as Dominican, those colors of that flag and the design, which is so unique, of course, that came from him. So I knew him not personally, but knew him, and what he represented and what he stood for throughout his life. And of course, as you mentioned, somebody who always left that impression on you of being very, very humble, very, very, I would say somebody like nice is not a good word. They say nice, you describe nice, you use nice for food. But just a man whose spirit was
I think he was meek.
Yes.
Very meek.
Very approachable and that type of thing. I didn't, as I said, have a personal in relationship with him. I didn't know him personally, but of what I knew, that is what resonated with me. His, that demeanor of being very stately, very meek, very humble, approachable. So I extend condolences as well to his family. Today, Carlton, is somewhat of a somber day
Yes, it
as a
is.
national day of
Yes,
mourning. Of course, the
yes.
flags are being flown at half mast.
Yes.
Yes, today. So I think in general, it just there's this
Yes, this
somber
air.
mood.
That's true.
Yes.
It's almost like a sense of reverence.
Mhm.
It is not like a somber mood where you want to cry, but
Mhm.
it's one where you sit back and you remember some way, somehow, the contribution this man made. And one of the things that I will definitely remember. And when I do see Mrs. Bully, I have to give a big hug because she became that giant at the end. I
Mhm.
mean, she would take her husband even if he was ill and frail. She would put him on the jeep and she would take him driving so
Mhm.
he could see some, get some fresh air, get some sightseeing. Even when he could have, gone to the supermarket, she would hold his hand and bring him to the supermarket still. I mean, this lady was I mean, she is the epitome of stand by your man, and she
Mhm.
really did that with grace, with dignity, with pride, and with honor. It's like she was like the perfect nurse that you would want to take care of you in a situation like that. And
Mhm.
today, we too want to recognize Mrs. Bully. I mean, they got married. I think they got married very in the
Young.
early 70s,
Mhm.
and way before I was born. So they almost maybe have 50 years of marriage. And so when you would have spent that length of time with somebody, that's a lifetime. You
Yes,
you
of
basically
course, of
give this
course, of
person your
course.
entire life. So we stand with you, Mrs. Bully, as you lay your husband to rest. But as we were saying, it's not like a sad day, but it's like almost like a day of reflection where some way somehow you, even if you did not know him personally, or even maybe never met him, but you kind of you stand in that awe of of what he stood for, and you feel in the contributions that
Yes,
he truly made to Dominica, and not just the flag, but even the interpretation of the colors
of course,
and what those
of
colors
course.
signify. You
And as
know?
Dominicans, you
Hmm.
learn that from young in your
Yes.
primary school education and in social studies. All Dominicans
Hmm.
learn what is the meaning of all the different colors, or
Yes.
what the different symbols, what the stars represent, what the part
Yes.
represents,
Yes.
what the the cross,
Yes.
that
Yes.
cross,
Yes.
what it
Hmm.
represents. So even from very young,
True.
Dominicans have to learn,
Hmm.
or used to. I would
Hmm.
assume it's still a
It
part
is
of
still
the
taught. Yes.
curriculum, right?
Yes.
Had to learn the representation of this design, what it
Hmm.
meant, and people hold that there. And as you mentioned, Carlton, not just the flag, but his contribution in terms of the arts. So all the
Hmm.
plays and the productions that
Hmm.
he was a part of. So you'll go. Recently, I went to a Cicero Singers production. It was Christmas time. A redo of something he had done years ago. So you will see that continuation, and that's what happens when people have made great contributions.
Hmm.
You see the continuation of their work through the generations
Hmm.
coming after. So that is also a good thing, that we are able to, yes, reflect on his life, his contribution, but continue in some of the things that he did.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yes. And so today, as we said, it is a national day of mourning here in Dominica as we celebrate the life and times of Dr. Alwyn Bully, a cultural icon here in Dominica, one who will certainly be um, in every history book that is going to be published in the upcoming times. One that all our children, especially if you do have young children, will certainly hear that name along their life's journey whilst they are here on earth. So today, and it just so happened that he's been buried on Holy Week, and
Mhm.
Holy Week to us in Dominica is a very significant week as Christians. Many of us, we kind of tim down things. We do hope that many of the producers and the promoters would understand that as well and would tone down things. But we would recognize that many of our radio stations would tone down the type of music and the contents during that week. Most people would be at church for the entire week. We know that Good Friday is a very significant day in the life of the Christians, and Easter Sunday will be coming soon as well. So it is Holy Week. Tomorrow is Holy Thursday.
Mhm.
Tomorrow is Holy Thursday, and then we have Good Friday. So you may hear my voice a bit kind of softer today, and it is something that you learn in broadcasting. Based on what you're talking about, how do you change the tone of your voice
Mhm.
and so forth. So it's something that I have learned, and so this morning we are actually going to be discussing. Um, is there significance in having a spiritual life? We know that we've been taught that man is body, mind, and spirit.
Mhm.
And that's what we're made up of: mind, body, and spirit. But a lot of us, we protect our minds. We concentrate on ensuring that our minds are healthy, that none of us wants to get crazy. I think it's something that almost everybody fears, getting a mental breakdown to the point where you may be defined or characterized as crazy.
Mhm.
Many of us, we try to take care of our bodies. We may try to eat well, exercise. We identify if something is going wrong in the body. We may seek to go to the doctor when our bodies are ill or not feeling well. But how many of us actually recognize and take care of our spirit nature? And so we're going to discuss that this morning. If you're listening to us, we would want you to call in and make a contribution. Um, we would hope that at least even as the big funeral is going on, that some of you would still listen to us and would want to make a contribution to today's topic. So we're asking the question: how significant is there a place for the spiritual life in our life? How much emphasis are we placing on the spiritual nature of our life?
Yes, Carlton, and I would add, and how is it? How what is the best way? Or I wouldn't say what's the best way, but placing that emphasis on spiritual life. What does it mean that you do? Because of course there are different interpretations to that. So as you speak of spiritual life, is it equated solely to church
Christianity.
going, attending church, or is it, what else makes that up? So I just want to add that in your question.
And that's a very good, very, very good aspect to the discourse, because we do hear people say that I'm not religious, I am spiritual.
Right.
And
Right.
there are a lot of people who will tell you that the spirituality to them means meditation or calmness or living a very peaceful life, a very simplistic life connected to the elements of the earth. If you look at the Buddhists and what they practice, yes, they some way somehow relate the sun to a higher power, but you'd recognize too that they believe in simplicity and they don't place a lot of emphasis on materialism. So that is one aspect of maybe exhibiting spiritualism. So I think the discussion, just like last week, is very value laden, and there may be quite a number of variables in
Yes.
that would broaden our discussion this morning.
Mhm.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break, and then we will actually come in and begin to maybe explore. I might share my own perspective on what I believe is my spiritual life, the definition of my spiritual life. I suspect Trudy may do the same. And then we will definitely hope that you will be able to make a contribution as we explore the topic of spiritual life. As we said, man is defined as being body, mind, and spirit. We place a lot of emphasis on the mind and the body, but are we placing enough emphasis on the spiritual aspect of our lives? Let's take a break, and then we'll be right back with you on Health Vibes, brought to you by Jolly's Pharmacy.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Langdo with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
I woke up this morning feeling real stink. I had the intentions to call in sick, but I end up in Jolly's Pharmacy. Great and down King George Street. Jolly's fix up my immune system. Got me feeling fit and strong. Now I'm ready to work and pick on any mission. If you see me again, Jolly's Pharmacy is number one. Jolly's working. We cater for everyone. Jolly's working. Boost up the immune system. Jolly's working. Yeah. Yo, Dominic, say by Father Box. Whenever I'm in town and I'm feeling down, I head to Jolly's Pharmacy. They boost me up real quick. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
So we're back with you on Health Vibes. Let me just give the numbers that if you do want to make a contribution, you're welcome to do so. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. And of course, you're always welcome to connect with us from overseas. That number is 305-432-9624. The number again is 305-432-9624. These are the numbers that you can connect with us again on Health Vibes this morning. So we're asking the question, how significant is our spiritual life? We know that we are in the season of Lent, and Lent is a season that begins from Ash Wednesday. It's a 40 days of reflection and prayer and fasting and where you do some introspection of yourself, your life, your destiny, where you plan to be. You know, if you do believe in heaven, you know, what are you doing to get to heaven? And to be politically correct, I will put heaven as quote unquote, just for the sake of the show, because we believe in respecting all faiths, and so I will put it as that. But we already have calls coming in, so let's take this one. Good morning to you, caller. Thank you so much.
Hey, good morning, Carlton.
Good morning to you, my friend. How are you today?
And good morning to you, Trudy.
Good morning.
Yeah, I am there busy and multitasking, but I just have to make an intervention because of the question that you're putting on the table. And it's a very important one because I want to give you kudos to the Jolly's program, because when you're touching all these different aspects of health and then you're bringing on the spirituality part of it, which is very important. And somebody might just hear spirituality and think of religion and Christianity, and it's really more than that. Just like the body, in terms of your muscles and your whole physical structure needs the protein, the carbohydrates, different things. In terms of the spiritual life, it comes with sincerity, friendliness, compassion, love. And these are qualities of of the spirit that a lot of people are lacking. And whilst you put it on the table, I just wanted to interject these other words that come with just the spirituality. So the foods that helps your spirituality, so the sincerity, the friendliness, the compassion, the love, and the cooperation. Yes. So all these words I want to interject there to make people understand the wider base of just spirituality. Because they might just take it for a perspective where it's just church or religion. So just want to interject that. I'm very busy, but I'll be all in.
Thank you so much. Thank you, caller. Thank you for the contribution.
Yes.
And that's a nice way to start off because both of us, we were already
going down that road. So
that
is So I'm happy that Melvin called that interjected that, because that is exactly what we were just discussing on the break, Carlton, the interpretation of spirituality, how it can encompass so much more, exactly like what he said. So yes,
I suspect we have another caller. I suspect this. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Blessings to you.
Good morning to you, my friend. Good morning. Blessings to you too.
Gentle lady. Blessings
morning.
to you.
Morning.
Just something. You could check the definition. Spirituality have nothing to do with religion. And a lot of people, try to have them intertwined. And spiritual, there is a non-physical of spiritual. So religion is physical. So you deal with your intuition. You deal with everything that contributes to your existence, the birds, the bees, the trees, the rivers, the seas, the sun, the moon, the star. That's the gateway to spiritualism. Your meditation, and I talk about the intuition, the non-physical or verbal conversation or interaction. So if somebody cannot see that, where people focus on the profession, how the tangibles, the feel, the see, the hold, the touch, you are lost. The intangible is impacting you greater than all the monies you have and the cars and the houses and all of that. Because intuition is so powerful. That is the spiritual aspect of life. Carlton, you see, you say, well, I just don't feel like going to work today. You think, no, Carlton, no. Something just telling me I should not go. Carlton, you know what that awaits you that day? No evidence, no information, but you stayed back, and there may not be evidence revealed to you later, or there might be evidence revealed to you later and say, boy, my mind just tell me not to go, And another time you'll say, but I wonder what was that feeling why I did not go to work. It's the spirituality, Carlton. Because I want to be quick. I was in Barbados years ago seeking medical attention, and I dreamed the mind, because no neurologist cannot locate the mind, in your head, Carlton, in your brain. And I saw the mind outside of floating, maybe like in the universe. I don't know where, Carlton. It was like if you root out a giant tree, Carlton, and all the roots. It's not like an octopus. An octopus have almost its straight legs with no other tentacles attached to every tentacle, so to speak. I said leg, but tentacle, and it looked dreadful. But it was breathing, when a cow breathing and like steam coming from its nose, Carlton, and it was breathing. And I saw it was the mind. In the dream, I said, that's the mind. When I wake up, I was trying to draw it, but I couldn't. I did not have no pen and pad or nothing. And I can remember it quite vividly, Carlton. So if you connect to the non-tangibles, all right, that is the gateway to spirituality. And then you get deep into an area where people trying to figure you out, but who, but why? Because you become an enigma, that mystery where people trying to say, but who tell him those people? Well, he madman, he crazy. Christ was a madman, you know that? They refer to Christ as a madman. So many of the prophets were referred to as mad people because people could not comprehend their perspective and where they were. Religion is much too materialistic, money, dress nice, go to church and all of that. No, that is superficial. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. I when exploring this question, one of the scriptures that came to me, and it is one that I too have taken note of and have explored, and the one that said, and God breathed into man, and man became a living soul. Now, spirituality to me, it's link to your soul. That is again an abstract. You cannot see somebody's soul, but they will tell you if you've done something heinous and barbaric and really, really nefarious, they will tell you you don't have a soul. So that soul is almost intertwined with conscience. And that breath, that air, that oxygen that we take in every day, most of us believe that when we die, it goes back to our maker. And so to me, it's a connection of spirituality. Most of us know that we cannot live without oxygen for less than 5 minutes. If we live with oxygen, without oxygen, within 5 minutes, we'll be dead. And we know that. And so that breath that the Bible says, if we believe in the Bible says that God breathed into us to become a living soul. That to me already is abstract. And it means where did that breath came from? And how did all these other things came? The rivers, the seas, the trees, the sun. And so to me, these evidential tangibles that are around me is already feeding on my spiritual life, that these things didn't just occur. Two people go in, they have a good time, they have sex, and then you have a human being being formed. How did we know that it's going to take 9 months for 10 toes and 10 fingers and a tongue and eyes and brain and all these things to make up a human being? Where did that come from? So for me, when I look at spirituality, just like the two callers said, it's more than just the Bible. It's more than just the books of the Bible and stories, but it also involves nature and creation and all these things that are around me. And if you look at a river, whether it's the river is overflowing its banks, it's or whether it is calm and cool, there is something about nature that connects us, that gravitates our attention and connects us with who we consider as God.
Yeah, so I think, yes. So I think you're saying, essentially being in awe of there being a superior power that links everything and brought everything to be.
Yes.
That is almost what I'm getting, from you. So there's this awareness that there is something greater than I am.
Definitely.
I see we have a call coming in. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
That's Carlton. The idea of man saying, "Child, living man, and he become a living soul." This is a myth,
This is a myth.
Yeah.
So, in what sense?
You see what happens is life is self-existence. You see?
So you see life as an existence. So
life is self-existent. The universe itself is self-existent. Nobody knows the beginning of this creation, or you call the universe. Nobody knows.
Okay,
life is self-existence.
So let
life is self-existence. Everything is a oneness.
So can I ask you then? So from your perspective, do you believe in a God, or there is a God, or there is God?
There's a higher spiritual force.
But you don't want to name that
there's
force
a higher
as
spiritual
God.
force controlling the universe. We are aware of that. But the idea of man, breathing man and that take this and form man, this is a myth. This is just a religious belief.
So that's your perspective on it.
Yeah,
okay.
This is just a myth.
So you believe that when you die, you have an expiry date. We all do. Nobody knows or the expiry date. So you don't know who holds that expiry date. So you think that it's nature that has that expiry date?
But Carlton, life itself can't die, Life itself.
So
self-existence can't die,
So what happens to you then when
your body decayed, go back where it comes from, you go back down to the sweat is also from dust, sweat go back to the dust.
Yeah, I get that. But I was just trying to understand a bit more based on what you're saying, because if you're saying that we never die, okay, we never
Life
die.
itself never dies.
Life itself never
Life
dies.
never dies.
Life
Your
itself
body,
never
your
dies.
body, your body will go back, with decay.
But life never dies.
No.
Okay, that's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very interesting. I'm actually jotting that down. Mhm.
Thank you, caller. Yes, Carlton, I, so much can be said.
The
I see we
calls,
have
yeah,
another
I
call
suspect that's
coming
a
in.
very interesting topic. Let's take this caller. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I want that to be my final contribution. And what the brother is saying, Carlton, is so right. That is what I've concluded, and I've heard it after, a lot of things. The same intuition I tell you about, the connection with the unseen. But the unseen is being seen because your body is the temple of the unseen. And if you're looking externally for the unseen, I have a thing I said, if what you're looking for is where you're looking from, you will never find what you're looking for. If you're unaware what you're looking for is right where you're looking from.
Mm-hmm.
The eyes, the body, your organs, the whole structure of your body, Carlton, that is all what man doing in medicine and in science a million years, and we will never comprehend in its totality how that works, Carlton, because it is so complex. Carlton, life cannot die. You see, like you have a balloon. I have a balloon. Trudy is her name?
Yes.
I have a balloon, and everybody have a balloon. You blow it, I blow it, everybody blow theirs. You think there is a different air in that balloon, Carlton? Your ear and my ear and that one ear. No, it's the same ear. That is life. It's one life. And it's incapable of dying in the absence of people and creatures. Like man said, they have nuclear weapons and they can destroy the earth and all the madness. In their insanity, thinking they get you scared because they're looking to destroy life. It's your ear and my ear. No, it's one ear. Life is one life. And you go through a transition, as the brother said. The body goes back to the dirt, but look at how much somebody watch and say, are you Orlando? And you're saying, yes. Look, such and such is my God, I see it. It is written all over you. Mm-hmm. Where the first Lando went, nowhere. And all of us are just one. And in conclusion, that is spirituality, Carlton. Try to connect the river. You try to make sense of it because it's not raining, and for months, for the whole year, it's flowing. The way the sea operates with its waves and all the creatures in there. Who created it? How did it come about? But simplicity will give you peace of mind rather than get into science. The more you get to the more you learn is the less you know. So madness kicks in. For you to try to understand in its multifaceted existence, you will go mad, like a lot of them go mad, go and split a atom and do all kind of things and kill one another. So life is so basic, and that is spirituality.
Thank you, caller.
And spirituality is simplicity. Blessings.
Thank you so much. Trudy, you were going to make a statement.
No, as well, the conversation has gone in another direction. But what I was going to say, as it related to what you were first saying about being in awe of a greater being and so on, spirituality can take, or to me, takes the form of just the essence of who you are and what you are going to contribute, so to speak, to the earth, to the world that you have been made a part of, to humanity, right? So to me, and that's where the first caller really, what he said resonated with me. To me, this whole idea of spirituality relates to so many other sub factors. Love, he mentioned, compassion, for me, volunteerism, service, empathy. He mentioned friendliness, but I will include kindness, generosity, being willing to think or be less about yourself and more about other people. So all that to me is a part of what it takes to be a spiritual person, because what you leave behind are those things. True. It's not, it's not the number of times you referenced a God or scripture. It's not the number of times you went to church, or it's not the number of the doctrines that you practiced or you believed in, or to me it's about the essence of who you are and the legacy, the impact that you have on other people. To me, that's what it is.
I like that. Let's take this other caller. I suspect the calls are coming. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Carlton. I'm sure I get onto your program very, very late.
I suspect this is my pastor.
Yes, I've been in and out of this. I hear some of the definitions in and out of it. Let me tell you something. Every human being is spiritual. Man was born tripartite, body, soul, and spirit. So man is spiritual by being man. Spirituality really doesn't have anything to do with nothing good or bad. Spirituality is just spirituality. You can be spiritually terrible and spiritually great. Because man is a spirit. Spirit has to do with what informs you to be you and to do you. Because that comes from that part of you that God gave you. That spirit. That is spirituality. Now, man can be spiritually demonic and spiritually godly. Man can be spiritually earthy, or spiritually churchy, or spiritually religious. Those have to be taken from those particular definitions. Because spirituality on its own is really who man is. So you were born a spiritual being. My name is Randy Rodney. Randy Rodney's body will die. Randy Rodney's spirit lives on. Okay? Because Randy Rodney is essentially spirit. That spirit is clothed in a body. Okay? So Randy can be spiritual, but Randy is spiritual by virtue of the fact that he's man. Now, some of the virtues that I've just heard my good friend Trudy mention are virtues of godly spirituality, which is different. So love and so on are virtues of godly spirituality. You have now to connect with God to be able to exercise that kind of spirituality. That's why some people are spiritual, but they are haters. Intrinsically, they hate people because that's what they grow to develop their spirit in. And so they become spiritual, but spiritual haters. They go guarded affair. They always have something against somebody, always somebody that do them something. They are spiritual, but they are spiritual from the perspective of what the enemy wants.
But then, Pastor, I before you go, because again, I'm listening to you very, very keenly. I'm taking some of your notes because here again that you bring back, and I know that you're a Christian pastor, but from a philosophical standpoint, you bringing back the concept of God, and that you're saying that spirituality could be, you could have a godly spirituality and so quote unquote an ungodly spirituality. Then someone may argue that with you and say, but again, that is where you're bringing in the principles of Christianity and God, and may look at spirituality very much different. What is your take on that?
Well, you see, that's why I expressed it the way I did.
Okay.
Man didn't create himself. Man didn't drop here by matter. Or man wasn't a rock and became a man. Right? Man has been created by God as body, soul, and spirit. And you don't have to agree, but that's where man came from. Now, since man came like this, man came with body, soul, and spirit, man is a spiritual being, right? And man doesn't have to regard God who created him. Man doesn't have to respect God who created him. Man could respect a stone, like we have seen happen. Man could respect a cow as his God. But man only does that because God made him a spiritual being. And now that has nothing to do with religion, right? It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It has to do with what is the origin of man? Who's man?
So man. So in a sense, what you're saying there, as a man, you will seek something. You will seek some sort of validation from a spiritual standpoint. You will be hungered for it, whether it could be good or bad.
That's very, very correct.
Okay.
And that is why man is where he is now, because Man, like I said, because his spirit longs for a relationship. And because his spirit longs for a relationship, it yearns for it because his spirit, right? What happens is that man decides to go the route that his spirit is now informed to go. So people, for example, can have money as the thing that gets them to live. So they don't care about anybody else once they have money. Money has become their God. Money has become the person that they regard or they respect, or its power or the force that is genuflect, to put it that way. Right? And it could be a religion, it could be power, it could be so many things. But that comes from the fact that man is made a spirit. And because he's made a spirit, he will have a desire to be spiritual. What he's spiritual towards is a different question altogether. All right?
Okay. Thank you, Pastor.
No problem.
Yes.
Thank you. We had so many calls, but again, the numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. And of course, you are welcome to call from overseas. That number is 305-432-9624.
Yes, Carlton, I wanted to say I appreciated Pastor Rodney's interjection here, the description of what it is and how spirituality can be different forms, because I think we just considered it, or I did, just as a good spirit, but this bringing up of the fact that it can be a bad spirit, an earthly spirit, a demonic spirit, this spirit, that spirit, but everybody does have a spirit man. Yes. So I appreciated that that perspective from Pastor Rodney.
Let's take this caller. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
I promise not to call back. I'll be brief. Pastor Rodney, we need to talk.
Okay.
If you're born a spirit, that doesn't mean you're spiritual. Okay, yeah, you're born flesh, your spirit, and soul. To me, the division, or it having to do with soul and spirit. Anyway, the English language. But what I'm saying, a man who dabble into his evil, or some exorcist, or whatever the person is doing, that doesn't mean they're spiritual. They're dabbling in evil. A spiritual being is somebody who understands, who seeks to understand what they cannot hold, feel, see, and touch. And people are dabbling in evil to say they are spiritual. No. That is not spirituality. A spirit, you're born a spirit. Yeah, but to exercise the closeness to what brought you into existence, which you become one with, does not make you a spiritual being if you're outside of that realm. If you're outside of that realm, that does not make you a spiritual being. Spirituality is to practice the coexistence with nature. And if you see yourself outside of it or it outside of you, you cannot be a spiritual being. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. I suspect, this is a very, and we did say so that there will be many variables in this discussion. We recognize that the concept of spiritual life, quote unquote, is value laden, and there will be many perspectives on such.
Yes, Carlton, definitely a lot of varied perspectives, and opening up, I think, my mind, and I guess other listeners' mind too, as to all the different variables that exist.
Yes. Because you may have, and you did, very eloquently highlighted some of the attributes of what we consider spiritual.
Right.
But then someone might say these attributes are again foundations of the Christian life.
Yes.
That you have to be X, Y, Z, all of these, to be a true Christian.
That is true.
And to be a godly person, because Christianity means to be Christ-like.
Right.
And then you go into say Christ was meek. He was very unassuming. He dealt with the downtrodden and so forth. And these are the characteristics that you've just highlighted as the good spiritual life. But then some other callers are looking at it from merely just nature. But let's take this caller. Let's see what's happening. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Brother Carlton. How are you doing, Brother Carlton?
I am doing well. And you?
and giving thanks for life, health, and strength, stay healthy and balanced and positive. And good morning to your guest. Mr. Carlton, boy, you have a great program this morning. But let me tell you something, Mr. Carlton. You know, I listen to all pastors and intellectuals and lawyers and doctors, name them, right?
Mhm.
But you know one thing I never hear from anybody really actually? Mr. Hunter, you can't even forget that, Mr. Carlton, right?
Uh-huh.
You don't realize that Empress, which they call woman and whatsoever they call them Empress, which is Mother Earth, right?
Mhm.
Empress carry a child for 9 or 7 or 8 months. A man and woman must come together to bring up a child.
Mhm.
So which means to me personally, you see me, I don't have no sense, I don't me. But listen to what I'm telling you really and truly, because everybody gives their 2 cents. You know, I just giving my 2 cents
Mhm.
based on the life, right? Now your mother, I tell you, your mother carry for 9 or 8 or 7 months, bring you into the world, right?
Mhm.
Now when you become in that world, from there you become human, because as the pastor say, the Father created us in his own image and likeness.
Mhm.
He gives us dominion over everything, but man cut short of the glory because of the things of the world. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize now, your mother that bring you in the world, which is supposed to be your creator. You don't realize a lot, freak out of humanity, they don't have no love and respect for the creator, which is the mother. But now you find God already. God already hurt you. Because God is a supreme power manifesting man. So let me tell you something, Carlton. In 1932nd of November, a great moment took place in the world when Haile King Selassie was crowned in Ethiopia, when all different nations come and bow to the king, and he crowned kings of kings, lords of lords, conquering the line of Judah, Prince of Peace. With his wife, make them know that he's the king and the queen has to come. Mr. Carlton, and also we're celebrating the birth of Jesus, or the death of Jesus, as they say. My brother, watch our world today. You're watching God and Jesus we save and we love so much and we honor them, right? You're watching white people get in places, Chinese people get in places, Arab people get in places, name them, Indian people get in places. Black people is the only set of people who get in nowhere because why? You are the foundation of creation. You bring everybody into the world. But because we have so much love and respect for humanity, people come to our country, take us like slaves, make us what they want us to be, give us their education, give us their philosophy, their way of life, their Jesus, everything. Never make us know ourselves. But the Father always say, you take us and give us culture, but you could never take our heritage. And that's why today, Rastafari, they can say what they want about the world. The only set of people, and I realize, many shall be called, shall be chosen, that have a great voice in the world today is Rastafari. Don't forget the great Bob Marley. Don't forget the great Victor Tosh. So I can name how much of them for you, my brother. I'm telling you, but right and truly, I don't take your program because you see me, I'm the real fireman. I like to talk for talking sake, my lord.
Thank you.
Life
Thank
itself
you.
is moving before I roll out.
Thank
Life
you.
itself, you hear me a little bit?
Yes.
Life itself, my brother, is to love and respect humanity. No matter who we be, what we are. Every one of us have a purpose in this world. And God don't like ugly. And if we say we love God and we love humanity, we have to check ourselves. Because a lot of us are very evil and malicious and bitter and sour. And just looking at people. What people have nothing to do with you is what you have. The Father will ask you when you come, what you give them, what you do. He's going to ask you what you do for the people. My Lord, this is a great country. We live in a great world. Stay positive, stay balanced. When you have the program, I'll always call and give my 2 cents. Holy Manuel, King Selassie, up and running, fireman running. That's the real fireman. Give thanks for life. Bless up.
Thank you. Thank you, caller.
Yes.
That was a mouthful. What we're going to do, we're going to take a short break, maybe just a few seconds, and then we'll be right back.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lando with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
So we're back with you. We're going to take this caller. Good morning. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good morning, Carlton, and to you and Trudy.
Good morning to you, sir. Good morning.
Carlton, I like the subject you all indulging this morning, man. And it's very interesting because I listened to Mervyn Cole, Blessing Cole, and Pastor Rodney Cole, and he put the seal on it. The subject that all 3 of these guys, I mean, the definition of spiritualism that all 3 of these guys call, and I heard it. I said, well, they already said what few things that I wanted to say. So I wasn't going to call. But I decided to call to make it be known that spirituality, like you said from the beginning, you are not speaking of a Christian or religious type spirituality. You're talking about man in his creation by the supernatural. Like Blessing said, and this is what I was going to say. It's your inner self, that your God-given self, the real you. It's your inner spirit, where God creates you, where you feel, you think on a certain level, because he made reference to you having a premonition of if you were to go at a certain place, a certain time, you decide not to go. That is your inner spirit, which sometimes we call it the third eye. Your third eye is yourself, your God, your real godly self. Inside speaking to you and say, Carlton, you may be an earthly man, truly, you may be an earthly woman, and you could do this, you could go here, you could do what you want. You have the freedom to do that. But within you, inside, your inner thought, the supernatural being is talking to you, telling you, don't do it. And you must be disciplined enough and be connected enough to that spirit talking to you to say, well, I will refrain from going here or doing that. But listening to it, I had to call, even though this guy's made all this connection, and because all of it is right. But one thing I want to say to what Pastor Rodney says, you are born a spirit, but as we grow in an earthly realm, you get disconnected by distractions around you and our teaching in the society, from religion to everything, and you become disconnected to your true self, because it does not take a wise mind. You don't have to be a philosopher or scientist to understand the connection to spirit. I will show you where I make that connection. A man who is connected, like Blessing just said a while ago, to natural environment, his self being connected to the soil, being connected to everything that is natural around him, and the mystic of what we call God that is unseen. But we have a faith that that supernatural being has an impact on us, and we live our life a certain way and try to reinforce that inner self, the inner spirit. That is the person that we speak of, not the shell. The spirit is the inner person, the inner thought, and the connection to the supernatural, to the wider universe. My friends, I'm listening. It's very, very broad subject matter here. We will never get to the end, but it's very, very interesting, because what you have done is open people's minds and educate some who have never thought of it, because it's a necessary subject to bring us to center and to see where we are society-wise, human being-wise, how we treat each other and how we treat the environment and the line around us to make that connection. I'm listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much. Let's take this other caller. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Carlton, you can have 100 balls and you're kicking balls every day. If you don't practice to be a footballer, because you're kicking balls or you have them, you cannot, somebody can say you're a footballer. So a lot of people are born with a spirit and they do not practice to be a spiritual being. That does not automatically make them a spiritual being. Thank you.
Good point. And actually, I started, let's take this other caller quickly. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Good morning to you, Carlton. Again, Carlton used to smash the calling this morning.
Good morning to you,
Carlton. I love that again subject. And Carlton, I will go back to the point where, even when you talk about the spirit, and I always tell people I sometimes subdue to the spirit in the sense that I go to the good and the bad. And if there's good and bad, there are two things you can move to. It's either you move to the good or you move to the bad. Mm-hmm. And I've always said that to people, and each and every one of us beings have that part in us that we can move to the good or to the bad. Again, the spirit within will be in one way to the good or to the bad. And I don't think there are two spirits. It's just a spirit in the inner body that will switch to whichever that we divert too. I may be wrong and I may be subjected to correction, but I always tell people there are two things that are really triggering us in this world, keeping us in this world, is the good and the bad. And even in questioning Jesus Christ said, "And you seen?" They asked him about his father. He said, "And you seen my father in me?" And I drag that to the good. I drag it to the good that he was doing upon the earth, that he was walking as man and doing the different good things, and he subjected that to his father. He gave those kudos to his father, and that is why he related to all praise belongs to his father and not to him. So it's a huge subject. And the other day I sat with my wife and I was putting that to my wife again with the two spirits, with the one spirit, but being triggered to the bad or to the good within us. And all of that is within mankind. How we live with each other, how we treat each other, how we honestly deal with situations on earth, the things on earth, how you treat a dog, a tree, and every other thing. So, Carlton, again, you on subjects, I don't know where you derive or where you picking them up. You guys, you and these two ladies, let me tell you only something. Not to stop, continue, because the learning I myself getting from you, what I'm learning from you and what I'm picking up, it's amazing. Thank you to you guys. God bless you guys. Always continue. I need good health and strength for you all to continue good things. God bless you all.
But one of the things, listening to the callers giving their own perspective on the subject matter, one of the things that actually came to my mind, I'm saying, okay, man is made of mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind can be inflicted and be ill. Your body can be ill and be affected. It's quite obvious your spirit can be ill as well and be affected.
And that is why I think, to Carlton, an aspect that can be brought in now to the conversation is different periods of life or different circumstances of life may impact the spirit and what is going on at the time. So when we talk about there being a spirit in everyone. Everybody is spiritual. Like, that is the point Pastor Rodney made. Everybody's spiritual, but the spirit can be of different natures. But there can also be a variation in my mind now of that spirit from time to time based on what is being fed to that spirit. So as you mentioned, the mind can be ill, the body can be ill, the spirit too can undergo, a period of strife. So it's not just a cut and dry, black and white. This is a bad spirit, a good spirit. I think people can go through different flux states, because I'm thinking now of, what I mentioned earlier as it relates to what I consider to be spirituality. And from what the caller said, particularly Pastor Rodney, that is what I was speaking of as spirituality is a godly spirit. And that's what I consider to be spirituality. But somebody now can essentially have or practice godly spirituality, but then go through some sort of, real trauma in life or go for something and then start to see a transition then in the spirit. So there is, I believe, impacts on spirit and spirituality and different transitions that people may go through in life. And then we can then ask ourselves, how do we kind of mediate those transitions and ensure that the spirit, our spirit, remains intact or remains, what we consider to be good or godly.
I really like where you are going with that, because we really seem to be thinking similar, because it's bringing me now to my own experience. In my natural sense, truly, if someone, let us say, if like maybe 2010, 2011, before I had experienced it, someone had said, okay, Carlton, what would you do if someone murders your mother or your father? Your general response would be, you want that person dead. You want that person destroyed. You want that person totally vanished. You want that person maybe in prison for the rest of their life, that kind of a thing. And when you do say it, you realize the hostility, the anger, the revenge, and all the other spirits that comes with it, the emotions that comes with it. I experienced that when my father was murdered and brutally murdered. And I've said too that I don't know if it was just myself or my ability that made me come to terms with the whole situation to where I could have and I did forgive the murderer or the person who actually did the act. And I have said many times that I have never seen the gentleman after the incident. But if I were to be given the opportunity, I believe that I would be comfortable to have a cordial conversation with him because I have freed my spirit. And to me, that is me really getting into my spirit, the spiritual man in me, because I think in my mind and my body, I would not have been able to do it. But tapping into my spiritual man, into the spiritual man, and not merely about, to me, that was in the absence of being in church every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever it is. I did it through a process, and I did it trying to understand what would it profit me to have all of this negative energy dwelling inside of me. How would it, I believe it would age me. I believe it would have gotten me very bitter and hostile. And how would I be with my peers, my other family members, my children? And so that is my experience about tapping into my spirituality, particularly in the face of adversity. Another person who may be battling that similar situation may have a very different story to tell.
Of course.
And might be at church every Saturday or Sunday and still cannot let go of that pain and trauma.
Yeah, so it's
very deep.
Yes.
It's something that I think has to be encapsulated in your lifestyle. You really have to understand who you are as an individual and the components of who you are. That you are truly mind, your body, and your spirit. Because as we've been taught, what you think of every day, your thoughts become your actions.
Yes, and your reality.
Right? And what you put into the body. So that includes as well your thought processes, your associations, your environment, the foods and nutrition that you put in. It actually becomes who you are. Right? And I think the very same thing applies with the spiritual aspect of who we are. What type of environment do you like to be in? I love, like I was saying, I'm my happiest when I'm alone. Believe it or not. I am never bored being alone. You understand? So again, another person cannot deal with that.
Right.
Because to me, when I'm alone, I can really think, I can dissect things, I get clarity. The very same thing happens to me when I'm running. When I'm running, somebody might just think I'm just running to exercise. But at that time, my brain really clears out. And it's a detoxifying process for me too. You understand? So I think this spirituality thing is really, really broad.
Yes. I see we have a caller.
Yes.
Good
morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling. You seem to have a feedback. Feel free. We have just about 5 more minutes to go. Yes. Hello? Okay. All right. Have you put it down? Are you there? Caller?
Yeah.
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes, sir.
you see what happens when you're in your inner self, you feel more comfortable. You understand? because you're dealing with the spirit that's in you and yourself. So that is why you say you always rather to be by yourself, because you're in your inner self. So that is where the Father dwelling. That is where, in other words, where God dwelling. So you're dealing with the Father and yourself. So you don't need nobody else. You feel comfortable.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, giant in every human being, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Every living thing is Father in them. Whether it's a tree, whether it's a rat, whether it's a cat, whether life is the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Because without life, there's nothing could exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you, Colin.
All right then.
Thank you.
Yes. And Carlton, to follow through with what you're saying. No, it's the same way we on that talk of spirit and there being different types of spirit. What you associate with and who you associate with the different types of spiritual manifestations that you associate with can also affect your spirit. So that's why you mentioned being alone. Okay, fine. Some people would say, you know, they don't like to be around very negative people, or they don't like people who are complaining all the time, or they prefer, you know, positive associations. They prefer uplifting. So there are different people bring, and it's not their personality, but there's, you know, people have different really spirits, and that's true. And it can also impact your own spiritual self.
True.
So the environment is also important as well. And I think I think what I will wrap up by saying in that discussion is you have to decide for yourself, you know, how you want to be, as I mentioned earlier, to what type of legacy you want to have. And that needs to be your guidance in how to feed your spiritual self, and therefore what type of spiritual self you will be. So you have to know for yourself, and it's something that I think maybe some people battle with. But know for yourself, what do I want for myself, and so what will feed that accordingly, and what decisions do I need to take? How do I cultivate a spiritual self that I want? You know, what do I expose myself to? You know, sometimes we say things like, "Oh, my spirit just doesn't like
that person."
That person.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh, my spirit just didn't tick that person.
It's true.
So what does your spirit want to take? What does your spirit identify with? What really helps you to have the type of spiritual expression that you want to have? And I think going forward, you know, people can think of that and decide what they want to engage in.
Good point. Well, as we wrap on this Holy Week, and as we many of us as Christians, most of us know we are a Christian nation. We celebrate the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. May we really consider and think of our inner man, that spiritual aspect, because as we know, we've been told, we know that we mind, body, and spirit. Yes, we want to protect our minds. We want to ensure that our mental health is good. We want to ensure that our general body and health is good. But are we placing enough emphasis on the spiritual aspect of our lives? How we treat each other, how do we treat nature, how do we treat animals, how do we treat, how do we harmonize a greater and foster a greater relationship with each other? So as we go on our merry on our ways, may we really, take some time to think about that. When was the last time you did something good for someone? How do you show gratitude about life, about what you have, the things that you've accomplished, the blessings that you have? I'm always saying I thank God that I'm not living in Ukraine or someplace where there is unrest and anarchy. That I can walk freely, I can drive freely, and these are things that I'm grateful about.
Right. That's something I just wanted to share, as we end, and it's something I should have maybe shared at the start, but it's good to bring it up at the end. They recently, yesterday, concluded the intersecondary schools debating competition, which I started and organized. And the winners were from the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy. Two young ladies, Burja Bertrand and Shireen Carbon, won that competition. And as we're speaking about spiritual self, of course, the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy, a religious, yes, Adventist school. But these two children lost the first round of the debate. They were kicked out of the competition because they lost. But then their score was so high that they were invited to rejoin the competition in the second round because of the schools that had lost. Their score was the highest score, so they got a bye. And the coach in her interview yesterday said that it was a teachable moment, a teachable moment in terms of humility and overcoming adversity and understanding that a failure is never the end.
True.
And I just wanted to bring up that story as we spoke of spirituality and feeding it. These two young ladies who are now the champions, instead of feeling defeated and that this was the end, they persevered and they continued on to win the championship. And so how do you feed your inner self and your spirituality? I think that's a good example of a positive feed that was done with these two children.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Congratulations to the two young ladies.
Yes.
For winning the debate, and truly congratulations to you for such a very, very important initiative. I suspect it's going to be an annual one.
Yes.
And I think it is a type of discussion that our young people need to be engaging in. And we as adults need to support them as well. We need to ensure that our young people continue to be critical thinkers, continue to be good readers as well, and read good material, that their information and knowledge base can be broadened. Well, we are out of time. It is 11:33. And we are saying goodbye to you on Health Vibes. It was a pleasure being here with you for yet another episode. And let us all continue to be mindful, to take care of ourselves. It's a long holiday weekend coming, and we want you to be safe. We hope that come Tuesday that our national news will not be giving any bad news, and our families will be safe. If you are going to the beaches, remember to be safe. Remember to have someone with you. If you're not a strong swimmer, and even if you're a very good swimmer, try to always have someone with you, to ensure that if you end up having some difficulties, you have someone who can signal help. And if you're driving, and when you're driving, ensure to use your seatbelt, avoid fast driving or careless driving, drinking alcohol while driving, and feeling sleepy. If you're really feeling sleepy, it is better to pull over and have a nap rather than to continue driving and subsequently end up being in an accident. So we want everybody to be safe this coming holiday weekend. From all of us here on the studios of QFM, we're saying goodbye, have a good Easter, and continue taking care of yourself. Until next week, if God spares, as always, your health is indeed your greatest resource. Preserve it. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lando with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in.